Save me some time here. I can go home.
Hey, Coach, how was the first week of practice and what were your initial takeaways?
Long way from good. We are a work in progress. We have the least number of players who have gone through 3 spring practices since I've been here. So that should tell you something. I asked the guys to stand up who haven't practiced at least 3 spring practices. So this obviously would make their 4th, and there was basically nobody standing. We just don't. We have a very young, inexperienced group. We really can't practice to our standard because they're all tired. So like we go to practice and it's like great energy, great in shorts, guys learn what to do, and then we start going and it's like they can't go. I'm tired. So we got to do a better job getting them in shape. We got to probably simplify some to get guys just to go play and not be thinking out there. But a lot of young players, and I need the older players. I mean, old to me is year 2, year 3. That's old. To lead the year 1 guys, because I feel like half the roster is in their first season at Georgia, not necessarily their first season of college, but their first season at Georgia, and it's been tough. So we got a long way to go, but I am optimistic. We do have good kids, and they do work hard.
It almost may be too early to be asking this, but what have you seen from the freshman wide receivers through a few short practices?
They got to get in shape. They're constantly tired at practice. They got their hands on their hips, exhausted. I think there's a little anxiety in that. So it's not like they're not taking more reps. So like the older players might have 25 reps in a practice. They might have 20, but they can't sustain their 20 reps throughout practice. They get really tired. So, they're trying. There's no lack of effort, and they're talented. But they got a long way to go in terms of learning what to do, and that's our job. Our job is to get them ready to go. They are not where they need to be.
Yeah, you mentioned needing to get guys to step up. Is it hard to get that out of guys when they maybe haven't been here as long? Do you guys as coaches feel a need to coax it out of, or is it just something that has to happen pretty naturally as things go along?
No, we have to coach it. I mean, that's what they get. That's what they pay us to do, to coach them. They have to be willing to receive coaching. And on the whole, my whole preach after the practice was, we got a lot of guys that put their hands up. They're offended when you coach them. I'm not talking about the freshmen. I'm talking about in general. So we've had multiple NFL coaches come through here, go to practice, and they talk about how their players love to be coached. They love to be given a nugget, a technique that might help them play longer or play better. And some of our guys are offended by it. It's like, you're coaching me hard? Like you're telling me I gotta play with effort? And some of them, I guess, have never been held to that standard, but that standard's not gonna change here.
Kirby, losing Malachi, Dan Jackson, what's the competition look like at safety along with, besides KJ? Who are some of the guys working there? What are you seeing from the newcomers?
A lot of guys, man. It's just like a lot of guys, and there's nobody really standing out. KJ's there, and he continues to bulk up, get a little bit bigger, and be able to take care of himself and tackle like he needs to in terms of size. But he understands the defense, and he's a good athlete. He can do things in cover. Jacory's working in there. Zai Branch is working in there. I mean, we got Maddox working in there. Jaden's working in there. Jacory, I think I mentioned him. Todd Robinson. Janelle's gotten reps at safety as well as star. Jaden's working at star some. Kyron's working at star. Kyron's working at safety. I mean, it's a lot of people, but there's no the solid foundation that Malachi and Dan provided is not there. So it's a by committee group. I'm thinking it's too early to have anybody out in the lead. They're all swimming a little bit. They're trying to survive practice instead of thrive. And we want to thrive, not survive.
Kirby, you said some of the guys feel they're offended when you coach them. Is that a new thing, or has that been your whole career, or is that more? I could see it in the NIL era. If you're getting paid, I'd be like, well, look, I'm here. I'm getting paid. Why do I need you to tell me what to do?
Yeah, if it makes it about the NIL era, then there'll be nobody successful. It's picking the right people to coach. Kids that want to be coached don't care what they make. I mean, the guys in the National Football League make more than these guys, and they still want to be coached. So that's not It's not a relatively new thing. I think it's more prevalent than it's been. It's just not. It's not new. I mean, guys have always maybe not been used to being coached and being corrected, especially at the volume and level of which we do things. But I think they'll get there. I mean, if they won't, then somebody else will be in their spot.
Kirby, on G-Day, I know you said last week what you said, but I guess yesterday came out that y'all opted not to put it on television. Are you all, well, first off, what's the reasoning there? And are you certainly gonna have a G-Day on April 12th, or are you considering what, like a scrimmage and some other stuff, or public practice or whatever?
I want to have G-Day, but again, we went through practice 4, so practice 1, I couldn't say with certainty we were gonna have it. Through practice 4, I still feel good about it. We've been very fortunate on the injury side of things. We're very deficient at a couple positions, and if we lose 1 or 2 or 3, it would convert into some kind of controlled practice, some kind of other format. But right now, we haven't been through scrimmages. We'll see where we go. In terms of TV, I think it was more about being controlled on what time, and in terms of, we like to have recruits there, we like to have prospects come in. It's a big event, we have official visits, so we want to control the timing of it more, and we want to be able to play at our pace and not have to worry about the constraints of being inside a window.
Yeah, y'all talked so much about KJ Bolden's maturity last year. How have you seen that through the winter and into the spring as he takes on, like you're talking about earlier, more of that veteran role in the safety room?
I mean, he seems like a vet to me now, because there's just very little veteran experience out there. He learned from 2 guys that knew how to do it in Malachi and Dan, and he doesn't overstep his bounds. He doesn't try to force himself on players that are older than him. He just, he pulls for Georgia. He pulls guys in the right direction. He coaches guys. So he got a lot of reps last year at this time. He got a lot of reps in the season. So he continues to develop his body. He's got to put his body in a position where he can play more snaps, play every snap. But in terms of leadership, he's doing a nice job.
Talked about some of those freshman receivers not being really up to shape quite yet. What have you seen from Bo Walker as well, the freshman running back there?
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not calling out the freshman receivers for not being in shape. I'm calling out all the freshmen for not being in shape. There's not a guy out there, freshman, that's sustaining his reps and just flourishing. They're not used to the tempo of practice, nor should they be, right? There's not a high school program in the country that can practice like we do. So the number of reps and the tempo of the reps, they might take the same number of reps at their practice, but they took it over 3 hours. They're taking it in 1 hour and 40 minutes, that same repetition. So Bo's doing a nice job. Bo's very bright. He's had some really good runs. He's had some mistakes. And what I like about Bo is he's very teachable, he's very coachable, and he's got natural rush instincts.
If you ever get to talk to some of your players today, I want to ask you about 3 of them. Your 2 tight ends, Oscar Delp and Lost Lucky. Can you give your thoughts on them? And Jordan Hall, is he completely back? Can you tell me about Jordan Hall? Because we haven't seen him in quite some time.
Yeah, Lawson and Oscar are 2 of our leaders in our program. They lead in toughness. They lead in carrying the torch for young tight ends in the room, but we expect to be good. They're both physical competitors. Lucky to have 2 guys that have played as much as those 2 guys. So I'm glad you guys get to see them, and as well as those other guys that are going to be here. Jordan is, I don't know if I'd say completely back. I mean, I feel like he's completely back. He might not feel like that. He would say he's still, banged up and bruised up, and getting used to the gauntlet of practice. The good thing about spring, he gets a day off in between to recover, but he's looked much better, much more healthy. He had his pins taken out, so he's screws taken out, so he's practiced much better so far this spring than he did at the finish of last year, and we need him to be an integral part of leadership on this team.
Coach, how do you go about getting the special teams guys to just buy into and commit to their role within the team, even if it's not exactly where they want to be at the moment?
Yeah, you sell team. I mean, special teams give you a chance at an NFL career. Special teams help you win, and special teams are about believing in something other than yourself, because 99% of what you do on special teams is for others, and we sell that really hard here. And if you don't buy into that, you probably won't play a position.
Kirby probably got more turnover on the O-line than you had in several years. How, Bo Hewley and John Jackson and even, Juan Gaston, how are those guys performing and kind of adjusting to having a bigger role this year?
Yeah, it's a brand new. I mean, there's a lot of snaps that have left the building in terms of that. It's funny because I look at it as 4 starters left, 4 guys will be drafted, so your whole line's turned over. But then you look and say, Micah Morris started several games and played a lot. Drew Bobo started several games and played a lot. Ernest Green started several games, played a lot. Monroe Freeling started. So we're very fortunate that we had to play a lot of guys due to injury. So it's like you got some guys that have started and played, and then behind that, it's a new cast of characters, and they've got to grow up and play. So Bo, John Jackson, Nair, fighting, Malachi, the guard guys, I guess, Uni, Easley, and then Juan being one of the new freshmen who's continued his journey to lose weight. He's really fighting that. He's had an impressive 2 weeks at going down on his weight. I've been proud of him for that, but he still has a ways to go. And then Mason Short, Cortez, I mean, all those guys are really competing in their dentists. So, I mean, we're fortunate that we have probably 3 deep on the offensive line in spring practice. I think most of my peers don't have 3 deep, but it's not the quality depth that we've had in the past.
Kirby, what's it like not to have Ron Corson in the same role you've been accustomed to all the time you've been here?
Well, it's funny because I still talk to Ron all the time. He's still every morning. He comes in, works out. He's around. I talk to him at baseball games, so I don't feel like Ron's gone. But Ron did a great job last year of having Ryan Madaleno and Connor do things so they would be prepared for this transition. So it's not like cold turkey. I mean, like they were in the staff meetings. They ran things. They had practices that they were the head guy, and it was more of a I don't know what the right word is, but it was over a course of time, slow deal that we prepared for, and so that we wouldn't have a huge transition. So Ron will always be part of this program. I mean, Ron's done probably as much or more than anybody that's ever been part of this program because of the number of years and the head coaches he worked for over so many staffs. I mean, I would think he and Gant's service to this community and university are unmatched.
Last question.
Yeah, with the Dayland limited, just what have you seen from the corners so far with so many reps up for grabs with Daniel, Ellis, DeMello, all those guys kind of battling for playing time there?
Yeah, it's good and bad, right? It's flashes. I just want to see fire and compete out of everybody. So it's like I can't label that position as the one, but there's days that you have flashes. Competitive toughness is so hard to find nowadays because kids like to take the easy way out, and it's not easy here. So between Daniel, DeMello, Andre, Dom, Jonte, Ellis, they all are out there competing. I'm proud of them all, and Dalen's doing a nice job teaching those guys and setting an example. He's doing more than you probably realize. He goes to Indy and does work and moves around and continues to improve his own skill set. So
Thank you, guys.